Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime, the ultimate release to coincide with the 40th anniversary, as this guy is shaping up to be the best Optimus Prime ever made. So as we directly compare him alongside his OG character model, the details are so insanely spot on to the point where I think I can easily say that this is a mainline masterpiece. So in terms of detail, the head sculpt looks awesome. Now, whilst I still do believe the Volvo Optimus Prime is a little closer to the animation model, this one really isn't too far behind, and if anything, appears to take a lot of inspiration from the MP10. As we spin down here to the chest unit, this is incredibly clever in the way it's been put together, especially when it comes down to those chest windows. In addition to the layer of blue paint that we have been seeing from some of the more recent reissues, they've also packed this guy out with some clear plastic inserts, which I think really do help in harkening back to the Masterpiece release, which, speaking of, as we check out the leg design, these are most definitely inspired by MP44, and I think it shows. Not only have these been detailed and sculpted front side to back, but the shape is so insanely close to what we did see on the animation that from certain angles, the stance appears to be a near one-to-one match to the second this guy steps off the Autobot shuttle, and from the waist downwards, I'd say the back profile too is incredibly clean. Although I will be honest and say, guys, I can't say that I'm too crazy about this backpack. Now, whilst it is by no means a deal breaker for myself, I really can't help but feel that maybe in order to max out that Commander Class price point, there may have been some slight over-engineering going down here, because as you spin it here to the side, it definitely does appear to be incredibly multi-segmented, and I just don't think this design of Optimus Prime warrants that much complexity. What I will say though is that from a dead front-on view, it really doesn't look too bad, and whilst those slots can most definitely be used in order to store the Ion Blaster, I wouldn't be surprised if in the future they do release an additional jetpack component which could very nicely clasp over the top. That would be really neat to see. But overall, this is a terrific mainline Optimus Prime. As mentioned previously, I really do think the best that we've so far seen, and this guy will no doubt become the standard for the character for many years to come. In terms of accessories, up first we do see the return of Optimus Prime's most iconic, that being the Ion Blaster, which not only has been incredibly well detailed, but surprisingly also painted front side to back. The next accessory that I was super excited to finally see make a mainline return would be the Energon Battle Axe, because for the past 4 years this has been kept exclusively to that super elusive Centurion Drone Weaponizer pack. The only slight downside to this for myself would be that unfortunately this has been cast out of the exact same gummy plastic as you would expect from a blast effect. Which, speaking of, unlike some of the more recent Commander Class figures, Optimus Prime is sporting completely new effect pieces. So to pair alongside the awesome Ion Blaster, we do have these pretty wicked laser effects, which do appear to be incredibly close to the design as seen from MP44. The next two I think are easily some of the best to come from Transformers in a very long time. These are a pair of boosts which are designed to attach onto the underside of the truck to reenact that awesome scene where Optimus Prime does charge into battle and begins raining hell down upon the Decepticons. Another accessory that I am so glad to finally see make a mainline return would be Roller, because much like the Energon Battle Axe, for the past 4 years this has been kept exclusively to that Centurion Drone Weaponizer pack, and this looks great in terms of detail, very sharp to the animation model, all of the wheels are pinned on, and surprisingly this guy has no issues in being piloted by a total of 4 headmasters. He can also totally pull Prime's trailer into the battlefield, which is a great throwback to the original G1 toy. Next up, we do see the return of the Combat Deck, which I do think is a big step up in comparison to the one that we did see released with the Earthrise version, although unfortunately haven't as of yet found anything small enough to fit inside that canopy, not even the Brain of Courage that did come included with the HasLab Victory Saber. The only issue which I do have with this wouldn't be in terms of design, but would be when it comes down to quality control. Unfortunately, the second that I did pop this out of the packaging, I noticed a pretty nasty crack running down the seam of this armature. Now, whilst I am hoping that this will just be a case of bad luck, I would definitely recommend to watch out for this, because for the Commander class price point, to be honest guys, we shouldn't be experiencing any breakages at all. But with that being said, there is no denying that it is an absolute blast to mess with, as it is able to be combined with Roller in order to create a defense unit, and paired alongside Optimus Prime, I should imagine that it will have no issues in tearing up that battlefield. And then saving easily one of the most important for last, we do see the return of the Matrix of Leadership alongside an inbuilt Matrix chamber. Now I would argue that specifically in the 86 movie, Optimus Prime has two really iconic scenes. The first one would be where he does face off against Megatron, and the second one unfortunately would be where he does die and passes the mantle down to Ultra Magnus. So it is a shame to see that despite there being some really nice details stored on the inside, none of this is painted. Unfortunately, this really doesn't match at all how the Matrix chamber appears in the movie, and I think that's a shame considering that not only is this a Commander class, but this is Optimus Prime. If you were to stack up this chamber alongside Ultra Magnus, who wasn't even a worthy bearer, honestly I do think this falls kind of short, so I don't think it would have been asking too much at all for them to have spiced this up, because I really think they could have made this look so much better. Turning to posability to see whether or not this Prime has the touch. To begin with, the head is on a ball joint, although unfortunately can't really look up nor down. It does however have no issues in spinning all the way around. The same can also be said as we turn here to the shoulders, although I will say guys, I do find these smokestacks to be a little annoying. Unfortunately these don't really tap in anywhere, so can become incredibly easily misaligned. They do however have no issues in kicking here out to the side, and in addition to that, this guy's totally packing intentional inbuilt butterfly joints, which I think are epic. This guy should have no issues in whacking Megatron to his demise. The bicep can spin, the elbow can bend to 90, the wrist has no issues in spinning all the way around, and in true Commander class fashion, these three fingers here are conjoined and the index finger is individually articulated, so you will totally be able to have this Prime commanding the Autobots to transform and roll out. The waist can spin all the way around, although unfortunately he doesn't include any form of ab crunch, which really would have been the icing on the cake. But with that being said, the skirt is incredibly segmented, so he should have no issues in totally pulling off the splits. The hips can then kick outwards as well as spin around here at the thigh, and despite the knee only being single jointed, this has no issues in bending way past 90, which I thought was epic. And then last but by no means least, the ankle can bend to an insane degree, meaning that you are able to get this guy into some pretty awesome poses. But as I'm sure you guys all know by now, to see the true power of this Prime, now let's put him through the pose test. In terms of some size comparisons, considering that this Optimus Prime is a pretty big deal, we have an absolute ton to get through. Starting off with easily the most important out of the bunch, we are bringing out the myth, the legend that is the Earthrise Optimus Prime, the figure that has been the Optimus Prime for the best part of 4 years, and has the time now come for this guy to pass the mantle down to the Studio Series version? I do think so, but with that being said, don't take that as being a write-off to the Earthrise Optimus Prime, as I really do find these two to be rather comparable against the comparison that is often made between MP10 and MP44. Whilst this is an amazing rendition of the original G1 design, it is definitely packing a hefty price tag, whilst this here is still an absolute banger and retails for roughly $40 cheaper. So I think at the end of the day guys, it's really just going to come down to your price range. If you are after the ultimate mainline Optimus Prime, then the Studio Series Commander class is definitely your guy. But if you are after something which is a little cheaper but is still packing a punch in the quality department, then the Earthrise Prime I still think has your back. Next up, we are bringing out the Earthrise / Siege Megatron. Now considering that the Studio Series Optimus Prime is slightly bigger in comparison to the Earthrise counterpart, unfortunately he really now doesn't size up all that well at all against this mold. So I guess those listings of an upcoming Studio Series 86 Leader Megatron have more or less been confirmed, because we are definitely going to need a brand new mold to stack up against this absolute beast. But with that being said, I can't help but feel that the increase in in size has kind of thrown a few things off. So here we have the Commander class Motormaster, who was specifically designed to pair alongside the Earthrise Optimus Prime. Unfortunately, he is now a little smaller in comparison to this guy, meaning that in terms of animation accuracy, I do find these two to be slightly off. And if you are wondering how chunky this Studio Series Optimus Prime is, then I think the Kingdom Galvatron is probably the best comparison I can give you guys. They both feel incredibly dense. The plastic is by far some of the best that we've seen on a mainline release in a very long time. And flying through a few quickfire comparisons, first up we have the Commander class Rodimus Prime, the Studio Series 86 Leader class Springer, Voyager class 86 Movie Autobot Blaster, the Volvo Optimus Prime, who I know I will get many comments in asking whether or not these heads are compatible. Now, whilst you can pop this head off with no problem at all, unfortunately I am definitely finding this to resist a lot, and I don't want to run the risk of breaking it. Even if you were able to get this head on this body, to be honest guys, I don't even think it would pair all that well, considering there is a pretty big difference when it comes down to proportions. Studio Series 86 Starscream, the Earthrise / Netflix Soundwave, the only logical comparison, the Siege Shockwave, Optimus Prime's right-hand man, Ironhide. For a rather controversial comparison, we have the Studio Series 86 Hot Rod. Next up, we have Cup, who has definitely seen some primes in his time. The second in command and the coolest Autobot on Cybertron, Autobot Jazz. Deluxe Class 86 Movie, Brawn. The Legacy United Autobot Gears. Easily one of the most important, we have the Studio Series 86 Bumblebee. And then throwing it all the way back to the original, we have the Missing Link Optimus Prime, which is inspired by the OG G1 toy. There has been a huge progression in the past 40 years. We are now at a point where, to be honest guys, after the release of this Optimus Prime, I really have no idea how Hasbro nor Takara Tomy will ever top this guy. And bringing out the big guns, we have the king himself, Grimlock, and then finally, just because right now there is a vacancy open for a Megatron to pair alongside this Optimus Prime, here we have the Yellow Park non-transforming model kit. To be honest, I think these two make for a pretty killer pairing. Leading the way into this guy's transformation, this is really where you guys are going to see a lot of inspiration taken yet again from the MP44. So for the first step, we are going to take the forearm and we are going to hinge this panel here upwards. We are now going to take a hold of the fist and slide this here all the way back until this panel can come back over the top and very nicely snap there into place. What you are then going to do is make use out of this bicep joint, spin this here around and crunch the elbow inwards exactly like that. We are then going to do exactly the same for the opposite side. So take a hold of the forearm, begin to pop this panel here upwards, take a hold of the fist, slide this backwards, snap this section here down. Then what you'll do is spin around at that bicep joint and crunch inwards by making use out of the elbow bend. Then what we shall do is spin around here to the back, where we are now going to take a hold of Optimus Prime's butt plate and slide this here all of the way down exactly like this. Then for the next step, we can take a hold of his antennas, and you are going to want to slowly bring these here towards yourself. We are now going to make use out of the waist joint and spin this all the way around until eventually the back is now facing the front. We are going to take a hold of these panels and pop these here outwards on both sides, exactly like that. Then what you'll do is spin here to the side of the backpack, where we are going to take this, detach it away from the core body of Optimus Prime. We are now going to take a hold of these panels and snap these here downwards again guys on both sides. Now what you'll do is take a hold of this backpack and you are going to want to click it here downwards, to be honest, just to get that out of the way. Once that's complete, we can now spin around here to the front, where we are going to take pretty much from the windows upwards and spin this here all the way around exactly like that. So already we are off to a very complex start, despite this guy only being based on a G1 design. For the next step, we are now going to take the head and slide this here all of the way back exactly like that. We are then going to spin this here to the side, where we are now going to make use out of this panel and extend this here backwards until this here is completely straightened out. With that all said and done, we are now going to spin around here to the back, where we are first of all going to take a hold of the fake grille and slide this here upwards. We are now going to make use out of these double hinge joints and slide these components inwards just like this. Again guys, make sure to do the same for the opposite side. So slide that there all the way in just like that. Then what you'll do is take a hold of these panels. These here here are now going to slide back down into their original configuration, because in true G1 Optimus Prime fashion, we are now going to make use out of those shoulder joints and slide those into the side of the cab. So what you'll do is begin to unlock this backwards butterfly joint, and now we are going to take the arms, slide these backwards. First of all, they are going to connect into this section, so snap that there into place, and then the second point of connection would be the side, so eventually you should be left with something which looks exactly like this. Again, spin around here to this side and do the same. So unlock that backwards butterfly joint, bring the shoulder here downwards, snap that there first of all into the top, and then the second point of connection would be the forearm into the torso. Right now Prime should be looking exactly like this. Then what you'll do is take a hold of this component and swing this here forwards, as we are now going to make use out of these components and swing these here outwards on both sides. We are then going to take a hold of what will become the real front grille of the truck mode and slide this here all of the way down. Now stored inside is an additional panel that, as I'm sure you guys would guess, we are then going to completely straighten out and then snap backwards into place. Now what you're going to do is take a hold of the top of the truck and the base of the front grille, and we are going to slide this here upwards, exactly like that. Then what you're going to do is spin around here to the side. We are now going to take a hold of this panel and completely extend this here backwards. We are then going to extend upwards by making use out of this double hinge joint and begin to snap this here into place just like that. Again guys, spin around here to this side and do exactly the same. So extend those panels upwards and snap that there into place until eventually the entire top half of the truck is now fully transformed and we have Optimus Prime totally rocking a Gerwalk mode. Then for the next step, we are going to take the entire front part of the truck and slide this here all of the way back exactly like that. We are now going to spin here to the underside, where this panel is very nicely going to become clasped in between the two front tires. You must make sure that all of this snaps into place. Then for the next step, we are now going to spin down here to the legs, which are very much so MP44 inspired. So you are going to kick this here out to the side, take a hold of the shin guard and fold this here all the way into the inside of the leg just like that. We are then going to do exactly the same here for the opposite side. So slide this panel all the way inside just like that. Then what you'll do is spin here to the inside of the leg where this tab is resting. We are going to take a hold of this and slide this all of the way out exactly like this. We are then going to spin here to this side to slide out its companion. Once that's all said and done, we can now proceed to directly combine this here down the middle, just like that. Then what you're going to do is take the front part of the foot and slide this here downwards. Again guys, do the same here for the opposite side. We are now going to spin upwards, where we are now going to take a hold of the heel spurs, and these two will also very nicely snap into place. Now for this next step, we are now going to come here to what was originally the back of the leg. We are going to take this component and slide this here upwards. So again, make sure to do the same for the opposite side. Once you reach to this point, there are two major points of connection. These tabs have to slide into those slots, and then these tabs here slide into the back of the thigh. So you are going to want to bring this here down. Again, make sure to do the same on the opposite side. We are then going to take the front of the cab and slide this here backwards until all of that does very nicely clip into place. Then what you're going to do is come here to this side panel, where we are going to take this and slide this here downwards. We are then going to spin around at this section and begin to lift this here upwards. As I'm sure you guys would then guess, this tab is going to slide into what was originally the underside of the forearm. So snap that into place. We are now going to take a hold of these tires and completely flip those out of the inside of the leg, which I thought was some seriously awesome engineering. We are now going to spin around here to this side and do exactly the same. So take a hold of this component and slide this here all the way down. We are then going to take a hold of the very tip and spin this around just like that. We are then going to extend this forwards, snap that there into place, and for one final finishing touch, take a hold of the back set of tyres, completely extend those outwards, until eventually we now have Optimus Prime fully transformed. Rolling out through the battlefield of Autobot City, now we have Optimus Prime fully transformed into the iconic G1 flat-nose truck. Now if this isn't a direct carbon copy of MP44, then I really don't know what is, because when it does come down to animation accuracy, this thing appears to be a near damn masterpiece. The way the entire front cab comes together I think is super impressive, and the details from the front I think are just looking on point. As we spin this guy here to both the side and the back, yet again he is looking to be incredible incredibly sharp. The back of the truck is surprisingly even cleaner than MP44, which I think is seriously impressive from a design perspective. The only area which I do wish maybe they could have slightly thickened out would be the back, but to be honest guys, that is such a minor qualm. As we spin him here to the underside, he yet again compresses incredibly well, and this is where you are totally going to want to whack on those additional boost effects to get Optimus Prime ejecting through the air. As you would expect from a Commander class release, all 6 wheels are pinned on, so should have no issues in ramming through some unfortunate Decepticons, and whilst I do think it is a shame not to see the return of the rubber tyres, I guess to ensure longevity, this was probably the right design decision to go with. Calling for backup, we now see the return of Optimus Prime's iconic G1 trailer. Now to my surprise, this is actually a big step up both when it comes to design and quality compared alongside the Earthrise Optimus Prime trailer. So when it does come down to detail, yet again much like the front cap, appears to be incredibly MP44 inspired. So in addition to the deployable kickstand, you can also totally whack out those stabilizers, which I thought was a really neat touch, and as we spin him around here to the back, he's even packing intentional blast effect storage, which was definitely really cool to see. Now when it comes down here to the ramp, to be honest, I wasn't expecting too much, but considering that when it came down to the Commander Rodimus Prime, that guy was packing inbuilt pistons, I was expecting something a little more interesting than just taking the ramp and sliding it here downwards. Maybe had they followed the design of the MP44 where this could slide inside, I do think that would have been pretty cool. Now all of the accessories that I showcased previously are totally able to be stored inside this, which I thought was really sweet. What I will say is that I really do wish maybe they could have taken some inspiration from the original G1 toy and had perhaps spiced up some of these unpainted details, because unfortunately for a Commander class release this does come across as looking a little cheap. And when it does come down to a trailer in general, I do kind of view these as being a double-edged sword, because on one hand, had they not included this, I probably would have missed it, but on the other hand, after checking out the Kingdom Rodimus Prime, I really can't say guys that I ever revisited that trailer again. So maybe in the future it would be neat for them to reissue this Optimus Prime as a standalone release and maybe retail him for the price point of a leader class. Racing through some vehicle mode size comparisons, we are yet again bringing out the Earthrise Optimus Prime. Now whilst I still think this here is a great figure, if you are specifically looking at animation accuracy, as I'm sure you guys would expect, the brand new Studio Series version is most definitely reigning supreme. Here is how he stacks up alongside his successor. We have the Kingdom Commander class Rodimus Prime, who are very comparable when it does come down to scale, considering they are pretty much exactly the same size as each other. Next up, we are bringing out the King of the Road, we have the Commander class Motormaster. Now whilst I didn't think the brand new scale in robot mode worked out too well, here in truck mode I actually think this here works a treat, to the point where I think comparing this alongside the animation models, this may work even better in comparison to the Earthrise Optimus Prime. Next up we have the Studio Series 86 Voyager class Ironhide, and I actually really like how these two stack up against each other. We then have the 86 Movie Deluxe class Bumblebee. Now whilst this right here looks awesome, I can't even lie to you guys, the second that you smack on that trailer, it just takes things to a whole other level. These two make for killer companion pieces and really do look epic when on display. And then last but by no means least, we are yet again bringing out the Missing Link Optimus Prime, which as mentioned previously is the closest thing I own in my collection to that original OG G1 toy. Considering it's exactly the same size as that original 80s figure, I'm hoping this will give you guys a great sense of the evolution that's gone down in roughly 40 years. So, wrapping up on this review for the Transformers Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime, I think this right here may just be the ultimate Transformer ever released. When it does come down to specifically a mainline Optimus Prime, I really don't think it's likely to get any better than this. In terms of the robot mode, it really is a mini masterpiece. Compared alongside the original character model, it comes incredibly close, the articulation is fantastic, and the only minor issue which I do have with this guy would be the backpack, but as mentioned previously, that is by no means a deal breaker, and the transformation is masterpiece worthy. He is packing some really neat tricks, which to be fair, I do think even rival that of MP44, and the truck mode is just fantastic. Even the trailer is packing some really neat gimmicks, although as mentioned previously, I am hoping in the future for Hasbro and Takara Tomy to maybe reissue Optimus Prime as a standalone figure, much like Takara Tomy have been doing when it comes down to their Missing Link subline. It would be really cool to have the option between Optimus with the trailer and just a standalone standalone figure, as I do imagine there would be a pretty big price difference between the two. But overall, this is easily one of the best Transformers to be released in a very long time, and it is the Ultimate Optimus Prime. I would love to get your guys' thoughts on this figure down in the comment section below. What do you guys think? I want to thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, transform and roll out!